हम मानते हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बनाने के लिए जरूरी है एक सोच कि दुनिया बेहतरी के रंगों से निखर सकती है। एक सोच कि अच्छाई के रंग हम सब पर खिलते हैं। एक सोच कि ये रंग जब फैलेंगे तो खुद में खुशियां समेट लाएंगे। और इन्हीं बदलाव के रंगों को हम आपसे शेयर करते हैं, उस सोच के साथ जो जाती है हैप्पी रेनबो बॉक्स में।
Moving on from roads and highways to digital roads and highways, our next discussion is on digital governance and role of PPP for smart cities. This session is powered by Microsoft. Joining us on this panel is Mr. Manoj Mishra, Secretary, Electronics and Information Technology, Government of Odisha, Mr. V. Uma Shankar, Principal Secretary, Department of Information Technology, Electronics and Communication, Government of Haryana, Mr. S.V.R. Srinivas, Principal Secretary, Housing, former Secretary, Information Technology, Department, Government of Maharashtra, and Mr. Gopal Mohan, Member, Dialogue and Development Commission of Delhi, and Ms. Nandini Singh, Head, Public Sector Strategic Sales, Microsoft. Hello and a very warm welcome to the State of States Conclave, our platform where we look at the work that's happening across different states. In continuing with our conversation on all the good work that's going on, in this panel, we look at all the digital initiatives that are being taken by states to make governance more inclusive and more transparent, and of course, more accountable. So let me begin, with my home state. I'll begin with Mr. Gopal Mohan. Mr. Mohan, you have been working with Mr. Kejriwal in making Delhi, far more digitally savvy. Tell us, what's been the vision behind integrating digital into governance? And you've prioritized, you've looked at public services. How have you decided, how did you decide that these are the services that need to go digital first before the others?
So as we all know, Delhi is took these all services, digital things to the topmost on the topmost priority because the convenience to people is the motive of Delhi government. So what we have done, we have digitalized all our services in 2016, and most of the services are already digitalized. And then we have faced few challenges in digitizing all the services because people are not internet savvy and people are not that have the access to internet and lot of things. So what we have done, we have provided opportunity to use these services through a single call only. So they can make a single call and they can get any government services on their doorstep. By this, we have catered around whole Delhi from last 2 years. In 2018 September, we have launched this service, and still the people are using this service. In lockdown, people benefited through this service because it's impossible to visit government offices, and this service is just like there is no need to take holiday, there is no need to visit any office, there is no need to do anything. They just get this at their doorstep. And here the best thing is there is no need to take appointment from government. Basically, the citizen give appointment to the government, and government representative visit the residence or the office of the consumer or the citizen according to his time, even on the holidays, because we all know the day when government take holiday, the citizens also have holidays. So citizens can't visit government offices on holidays, so they have to take a holiday to visit government office. So this is we have already done, and but still we are planning to go more techie, and what we are planning to do in this service, we are visiting the citizens' place and collecting their documents, and then only we issue the certificates in the timelines like 15 days, 10 days, 20 days. But in the later future plan, what we are doing, we just take the request, we'll prepare the certificate from the data we already have, because government has all the data of all the citizens and everything. Keeping the automation of all the data will just prepare the certificate on a call only and will visit his residence to provide the certificate and will just take the biometrics of his to just confirm that he's the only guy who has applied for the service, so that we cannot issue the certificates to some other person or on the some other request. So we are in the process of that, and even we are using complete cloud because we don't want to like use offline servers and offline things, because that creates a lot of errors, a lot of
Got it.
dependency
Sure.
on the offices. So this is a plan for future.
Let me go across to Mr. Manoj Mishra. Mr. Manoj Mishra, when you think about Odisha, you think about you think about Puri, you think about beautiful beaches, you think about delicious food, but you do not think about a digital savvy state. So tell us, what's happening there? What kind of initiatives is the government taking to make governance more inclusive for citizens and make their lives easier?
Thank you, Sweta, for having us. We are slightly far away from Delhi, so I guess you don't hear our stories as often. So I would like to thank India Today and the State of States Conclave for having us so that we can tell our stories to people. People like Nandini, who I can see on the panel, would know more about the state because we have worked extensively together. When this government came into being in 2019, although under the same leadership of Sri Naveen Patnaik, Honorable CM, since last 20 years, the mantra that has come to governance is called 5T. Is now very well known across the governance sector. It is about if I break it down, it is about teamwork, transparency, technology, and on time will lead to transformation. So when we are talking about digitization, it is not only eGov. eGov is a part of it. In fact, eGov is there in India since last 15 years. Every state has done some form of eGov, and hearing Gopalji talking about Delhi experience has been one of the leading examples for the country to follow in eGov. But while we are doing eGov, we also have to think in terms of the processes that the government has itself, which is quite bad in many areas. And that's something that Honorable CM told the day he took oath, the next day itself, that he laid the framework of governance. He said, I do not want my citizens to come and visit any government office unless it is mandated by the constitution or law. So he made it extremely clear that people will not come to government offices. Now that, as a government servant, I can tell you very honestly that if we are talking in terms of transparency and if you are talking about reducing corruption, just reduce interaction of people with government agencies. That's exactly what the Delhi government experience has been. That's what we are taking to the next level, where we are now reinventing the government processes itself. So we identified about 400 and odd services in the government, which were available in some form of online, some hybrid, but they were not end to end. Today, fortunately, we are in a place where we can talk in terms of providing a service end to end. Otherwise, earlier, the money has to be deposited physically. So now you don't have to do it. So we have to also thank the ZAM framework that came into being in India, for which people have that accesses. The penetration of mobile network is also something that has come into being. So I think this is the time in which we can take the eGov to the next level, where we change the entire format. So we are addressing each of the services, about 424 services to the last count. We are putting on one portal on one end-to-end services, and we have taken down the processes to the basic minimum. What CM told us was that as a leader, he could say that it was very difficult for us administrator to accept, but then we have to follow his guideline. He told, believe in the goodness of people far more than the processes of the government. So we may have processes to safeguard into various things, and we bureaucrats, we know very well how to frame laws, but they may not work very well for people. So he said, what we did was, in one go, we said no attestation. So every certificate that you provide, self-attestation is fine everywhere. For example, I'll give you just one small example in which a government job comes into advertisement. Now, you know, the ratio in which people apply is 1:10,000. Now you have to check if a category, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe or OBC candidate has applied, they will have to produce their certificate. Now, production of that certificate, we have made it easy that somebody can get it in their block office itself. That's one. Second, the government will have to verify that those certificates are all right. Just imagine if 5 lakh applications come, couple of lakh would be verification of applications. How long does it take? So therefore, exams do not normally take place on a calendar event. So what we did was we did away with the entire process of verification of certificates. No verification. Till the time the candidate actually gets through, comes to join, then only the verification will take place. So this way, all that I intended to say was that the process itself has to be re-engineered, then automate the process, and then take a feedback. So while doing this, when you do take a feedback, you again can come back and change a little bit of processes again. So process, automation, feedback. These are the three broad framework on which we are doing the entire digitization of government service in Odisha.
Fascinating. Mr. Umashankar, coming to you, Haryana is of course home to the cyber city. You've got the biggest MNCs that have made Haryana their home. On the other hand, you have the best of both the worlds, right? You have farmers, you have corporates. So how do you manage? Like, what's been your driving force behind thinking of digital interventions to make governance more inclusive and of course more accountable?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And taking forward from my previous speakers, I think what we have worked upon is to unpack the IT conundrum that we have in government. I mean, as a country, we are extremely good in IT and IT related matters, but the penetration of IT in government is not to that level as a country we could have done. So we need to unpack the issue of IT in services, and taking forward from my two previous speakers, we have looked at 4 parts. So when you look at any IT service, there are 4 parts to a service. One, is there a physical touch point? Can we eliminate the physical touch point? Number 2, documentation and verification. So there is a whole lot of documentation burden that is placed, and the documentation burden is just for verifying eligibility for various matters. The third is the approval processing. That, as my previous speaker had mentioned about process reengineering, what needs to be done insofar as that is concerned. And 4 is the actual delivery of service. Do you actually require a physical touch point to deliver the service, and can you deliver the service without a physical touch point? So in order to take up an IT service, we try to unpack these 4 parts. Now, for example, one thing we found was there is, out of the 600 odd services that are online, in about 420 services, 430 services, the documentation requirement is practically the same. So can we do a pre-verification and keep the verified documents available with us? So when the citizen requires a service, even if it's without a physical touch point, then he doesn't need to go into a documentation burden, because if you have to give a service without a physical touch point, then you have to eliminate the need for scanning documents. When we look at rural areas, and if there is a document upload required for providing any service, then you have to provide a scanning facility also, and that becomes a bit of an issue. So what we have tried to do is that put together, and that's our flagship program, probably I'll come to it a little later, of pre-verifying and keeping documents so that when a citizen approaches for a service, whether online or at the physical touch point, his all documents are pre-verified. The process re-engineering part is also a very important part. I need not cover it again. And that's another aspect which we have looked into. Another flagship, a second flagship program that we have undertaken is what we call the Meri Fasal Mera Byora and e-Khareed. digitizing on an end-to-end basis, right from the farmer registering online to the time his crop is sold in the mandi and he receives the payment. Entire process being digitized without any physical documents. That has been fairly successful. It has run well. It had a few glitches. And it has had its impact also to that extent that how this has fed into a policy decision is Haryana is the only state in the country which procures close to 10 crops on MSP. No other state in the country does that, not even Punjab. And that has been possible because of the digital backbone that we have been able to put into place to facilitate it. And this is at the level of a farmer in the remotest corner of the state getting access to an online facility by which he can run through this entire exercise.
And Nandini, let me come to you. Considering, I'm sure you're working with different state governments and advising them on how to adapt to the digital ways of doing things. What's your assessment? How far have we come when it comes to adapting to digital ways of, governance?
So Shweta, thank you very much at the start to invite us for this great eminent panelist, and I'm honored to be here. So to start with, yes, so the first question was where are we in the digital journey? So Shweta, if you start from around 20 years back, 10 years back, and as recent as 6 months back, so we can easily divide those into timelines, right? So everybody will agree with me. So when I started my IT journey, it was I still remember going to a government official, an IT head, so-called IT head, with only one person reporting to him, and he says, "Look, I'm totally computerized." I went from a very big firm, I mean TCS, and he says, "I'm totally computerized," and I said, "Sir, what?" He says, "Look, I've got a desktop."
Yeah.
So from there, then it was a slow one, and then of course the digital journey. I mean, it was for everybody to see. It was amazing. The mission mode projects, the Naregas, and the digital payments, and then there were last 7-8 years of Mr. Modi's government, and then we had entire band of IT savvy IT secretaries, IT savvy IT secretaries there in the states. So there was a phenomenal growth in. I mean, if you could see last 5, 6, 7 years, phenomenal growth we have done. So in sectors like finance took the lead, and then we also had a few e-governance and dashboards and as Sir said in G2C processes and all. But of late, and then from finance, taxation was the mid part, and then now I can see is apart from COVID, health, we'll talk about it later. It's a whole subject in itself. We'll talk about agriculture, as Sir said. So AI for agriculture, it's coming. So it's not only digitization. What I see in state governments is they're using AI and data, and everything is being discussed. And it's not only discussed, we are going in road to predictive analytics. For kharif, and I mean for crops and for soil. So that's for agriculture, health. These are the few areas, logistics, and then of course after COVID, a lot of labor movement happened. So we could see skill labor and employment platforms coming in. So I can see a lot of platforms coming in, cloud being integrated, because that's the way where the data will reside, and there could be integrate. So a lot of integration is happening. A lot of integration of platforms are happening. There's no isolated platform being run by one state or one department. We are talking of consolidation and integration. So that's where we have come a long way. And of course, needless to say, COVID jump-started the whole process for us.
Mr. Srinivas, thank you very much for joining in. We're just talking about the work that's happening across the state. So maybe, you could also give an overview of how do you, look at integration of digital with governance?
This is a very very broad question, but I will limit myself to a couple of things. One is perhaps the discussion took place about BharatNet. That is actually coming in a big time. And, in fact, there is a state-driven model also, like Orissa, for example. Somebody was mentioning Orissa, and about 7 to 8 states, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, a state-led model where we are going to connect where the minimum speed is 100 Mbps, scalable up to 1 gig. See, if that is going to be the speed, and combined with the 5G that is going to come up time now, I think the digital delivery of services will be the biggest thing that's going to happen, and that should be the biggest thing that's going to happen. Maharashtra, we had prioritized it as one of the biggest things that's going to happen, and in fact, it's a cabinet decision by us. In fact, we have declared the BharatNet and the UrbanNet as a vital public purpose projects, where the entire will be laid without taking any permissions. Permissions are given in through a single window by the cabinet itself. So that is one thing we are going to drive, and I am expecting the work will be completed by coming March. So three sectors we have prioritized. One is agriculture, secondly education, and third is Mrs. Nandini was mentioning about COVID, and all of us were mentioning also the health sector. So where the digital delivery of services should take place. That's one thing. And second point, limited point I would like to make is the data interoperability. That is going to come up big time, especially in whether it is COVID or no COVID, unless there is a enterprise architecture in the long run, or at least in the short term data interoperability, where through data standardization, who will not be able to take effective decisions. And if you want to take effective decisions and which are also quick decisions, data interoperability is the key. Of course, Government of India has come out with a very good platform, the architecture called India Architecture, INDEA, India Enterprise Architecture. Within that framework, data interoperability is another thing we are concentrating upon in Maharashtra. And in fact, I was a IT secretary earlier. Now I just took over again in the last couple of days. So in the last 2 months, there was a gap. So that is the one thing now continuing also by my predecessor, immediate predecessor. So now we're going to continue big time. I think if these are the two things we are able to achieve, I think that would have really done a wonderful thing. Yeah, I'll stop it right now. Yeah.